I'm not gonna lie, I think Chelsea might require a miracle to beat Manchester City on Sunday. Although usually, we seem to struggle to achieve what's expected, and seem to be quite good at pulling off miracles at times, so why not? Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my preview of the Manchester City vs Chelsea game taking place on Sunday, with the kickoff being at 4 PM UK time, of course at the Etihad Stadium. First of all, before getting into the video, if you haven't already, please make sure you do subscribe. Just click the subscribe button down below and also click the notification bell button to be informed whenever we do upload a video. But now getting straight into it and speaking about our opposition Manchester City. And what really is there to say about them? They're good. Really good. And also, I dislike them a lot. They've just won the League Cup last Sunday, smacking Arsenal 3-0 in the final. They've just beat Arsenal 3-0 at the Emirates last night. They're miles clear of everyone else on top of the league with 75 points from 28 games, scoring 82 goals, which is by far the most in the league, and more than 2.9 goals per game on average, conceding just 20 goals along the way as well, which, along with Manchester United, is the least conceded. They are on the verge of breaking every single record there is basically, except the goals conceded record set by us in 04-05, obviously when we only conceded 15 goals throughout the whole campaign. They're more than likely going to beat our all-time points record of 95 points, which is a record I hold very dearly, because that's the best thing to reply to an Arsenal fan when they're going about going invincible. From their 28 games, they've only lost one. Against Liverpool and Anfield when they lost 4-3. They've drawn 3 games and of course won an almost unbelievable 24 games. They're danger men. Well, I mean, over the last 4 transfer windows, they've spent over £250 million just at defenders. One of them is injured, 2 of them aren't even playing, and they've still conceded the least amount of goals out of anyone in the league, along with Manchester United, of course. They bought Barcelona's first choice keeper, then he turned out to be awful, so they just went and bought another keeper, who turns out to be incredible, basically. Oh, and Danilo, their right back and left back and centre mid, he plays everywhere, chose them over us when he knew full well that he wasn't going to be a starter there and probably would have been for us, and that says quite a lot, as we were and obviously still are the Premier League champions, and he still easily chose them over us and said it was an easy decision. They have one of the best strikers to ever play in the Premier League, as much as a lot of people might not like to admit that, in Sergio Aguero. They have one of the best young talents in world football in Leroy Sané. They have 2 of the best centre attacking midfielders in the world in David Silva and especially Kevin De Bruyne, who at the moment is probably one of the best players in the world full stop. And somehow they've also managed to turn Fabian bloody Delph into one of the best left backs in the league. However the hell that happened, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't looked that up, but I read that they have 2 players honestly worth more than £30 million in every single position on the pitch. We don't even have one of those in some positions. And I didn't even mention the likes of Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, etc. You know, they have so many incredibly good players and dangerous players. That goal Bernardo Silva scored against Arsenal last night was incredible. He usually isn't even a starter and is well behind Raheem Sterling in that position. Am I sounding too negative for you? I'm sorry. Okay, let's go to the positive things for us looking at it. And well, there's one, really, because Wigan and good old Will Grigg kicked them out of the FA Cup 2 weeks ago. Other than that, can't really see too many positives. Okay, they played last night and we obviously had our game on Sunday. Maybe that's a slight advantage. But other than that, there's not really much going for us, if we're being completely honest. Now, how do Manchester City play? Well, incredible is how they play, to be honest. They press, they try to win the ball back as quickly as possible when they do lose it. They can pass it out from the back. Their keeper can play better long and crossfield balls than almost any outfield player in the whole world. Their attacking players are clinical. Their midfielders are quick, great on the ball, and with the exception of maybe David Silva, also very strong. And sadly for everyone else, and on Sunday, sadly for us, they're also very smart. When they do lose the ball and the opposition do hit them on the counter-attack, they just foul them. Basically every single time. And every time they get the chance to anyway. And in theory, all of those fouls are tactical fouls and should therefore be awarded with a yellow card. But for some reason, the referees hardly do ever book them. If the refs always did book them, they would probably have about 2 players sent off in every single game. Do I sound bitter? Maybe, but that's just fact. If whenever I do watch them, that's what's going on. The one thing I can say is that their defence can be suspect, as they've shown on multiple occasions this season. But when their defence is suspect, you have to take your chances, because they then still have Emerson in goal, who does pull off outstanding saves more regularly than you might actually think. We are good enough to create chances against Manchester City, but when we do, we have to take them. Like, we simply have to, even if it has to end up in a 4-3 win like Liverpool had. But, you know, you just have to take your chances. Otherwise, you simply do not stand a chance against Manchester City. And just quickly to speak about the team news, just to mention it, left back Mondi is still out with his long-term injury, of course. Fernandinho, who is obviously an important player, will most likely miss the game after picking up a hamstring injury in the League Cup final last Sunday. But like I said, with their squad depth, while they don't really have another player like Fernandinho, they will replace him just fine. But of course, it's still better for us that he's out than if he was fit to play. Fabian Delph will serve the last of the 3-game suspension after being sent off in the FA Cup. Raheem Sterling missed last night's game, but ahead of that, Pep Guardiola said that he's better and might be fit to face Chelsea, so we'll have to wait and see about that. Kyle Walker had to come off during last night's game with a few niggles in his calf and back, and still has to be assessed apparently, but their manager said post-match last night he doesn't think that Walker is injured, so I assume that he'll be fit to face us as well. But now coming to Antonio Conte's pre-match press conference, and starting it straight off with team news. Both Bakayoko and David Luiz do remain out injured. While Ethan Ampadu does join the injury list sadly, but let's be honest, he wouldn't have featured either way, so it's not really, that big of a deal. Ross Barkley on the other hand though has recovered from his hamstring injury and will go to Manchester with the team, but is not guaranteed to even make the bench, let alone the starting 11. Conte admitted that it's very difficult to find weaknesses within Manchester City, but said that we do have a plan. While he also underlined that what's happening at Manchester City is the result of the manager, the players and the club working together very well. When you have a good manager, good players already, and a lot of money to spend, while the manager and the club have the same vision, you can see what happens. And, you can't really disagree with Conte's, what Conte said there, really. And in my opinion, that's clearly a dig at the board, not always being on the same wavelength as Conte himself. And about the players, maybe also a little dig at certain players that have said certain things over the last few days. Then when he was asked specifically about Chelsea's ambition, Conte said that is a question for the club. The coach has to work every day and work very hard, no matter what anyway. But that was basically it for the press conference. Everything else was just basically a quite depressed looking Antonio Conte saying, you, we, they, or I have to work very hard. That's what he always says. Just work very hard, basically. But now coming to Chelsea and how I would line up and how I think Antonio Conte will line up. And I'm going to start that off with a very controversial point, as you might have seen from the title already. You all know what Mr. Courtois has been up to again, don't you? If you don't know what's going on, check out the video Louis and Louis put up last night. Just click the card up there. But I'm not a fan of what he's doing. While I actually agree with what he said, how dare he say that to the press? How dare he undermine the manager and along with the club? Is that going to help us in a very, very tough fight for top 4? No, it's not. It's really not going to help anyone, but for some reason, his own, feel-good feeling for some reason, because he just had to vent. Well, vent to someone else, not the press, mate. And good old Willy Caballero has recently kept a lot more clean sheets than Courtois has. Caballero might sometimes struggle with the balls in the air, but how many times do City actually play a proper cross? Not very often. And unlike Courtois, Caballero can actually distribute the ball acceptably well. That's maybe a slight advantage, I suppose. And honestly, I would drop Thibaut Courtois. I don't care if you think that's harsh. I don't care if you think he had every right to say what he said because Conte was stupid to take Hazard off. I don't care. By undermining the manager, my club has appointed and not sacked as of yet, which he clearly has done. He is undermining my and our club as well. And I do not accept players doing so. I know that he will play, but I wouldn't play him. I know he's a great keeper. I know he is. But, there has to be a line. You have to draw a line somewhere. You can't go around doing everything just because you're one of the best players. It does not work like that. It shouldn't work like that, in my opinion, anyway. Okay, so that's the goalkeeper coming to the back 3. While Andreas Christensen has made very crucial mistakes in both of the last 2 games, he has to start anyway. So the back 3 for me stays the same with Azpilicueta, Andreas Christensen and Antonio Rudiger. Now coming to the wing-backs, and would I like to see Emerson Palmieri? Yes, but I haven't seen enough of him to know if starting him against Manchester City is actually a good idea, if I'm going to have to be honest. And also I thought Alonso played very well against Barcelona, and also against Man United I thought he had a good game. So I keep him there. Moses might have been awful going forward recently, but at least he can defend and is physically strong. Zappacosta can't defend, and he's basically the Italian wingback version of Morata and just falls over. So without doubt, I would start Victor Moses again. And coming to the midfielders, I'm not even going to debate it. Kante and Fabregas. End of. Drinkwater was not poor against Manchester United. Not at all. He played to his ability. But that's the problem. His abilities are just limited to a certain extent. While he is quicker than Fabregas and probably slightly stronger, his passing, his tactical awareness, and also the connection with teammates around him, he certainly lacks compared to Cesc Fabregas in my opinion. And also, I think Cesc Fabregas played very well against Barcelona. While they play tighter than City do with a tighter, structure of midfield, if you can do it against Barcelona, you can do a job against anyone. And with Manchester City's pressing, we need someone that can actually distribute the ball under pressure. And Fabregas, in my opinion, is the only midfielder we have that can actually do that. But then coming to the front 3. Well, I think Conte will do the same that he did against Barcelona. Play Hazard as the false 9, have Willian and Pedro drop into midfield when we're off the ball to create the 5-4-1 formation, and I don't mind that. It worked pretty well against Barcelona, so it can work against Manchester City. But I would start Olivier Giroud with Hazard and Willian next to him. Ahead of the Manchester United game, I said that Morata needed a start, and a lot of people, a lot of you reminded me of that in the comments of the Manchester United review. I did say that. But if after 7 months in this league you still do not understand that you don't get the free kicks when you constantly fall over and you just harm your team basically because, you just keep falling over, well then you're not playing. If it was down to me anyway, if you take more than 7 months to actually understand and comprehend that, you're not playing in my opinion. I still think that Alvaro Morata can come very good for us, but the next few weeks and months are too important for us to give Morata those chances and that time. Giroud isn't quick. Not at all. And some might say you need pace to them on the counter, so you need to play Morata or the false 9. Yes, if you do counter by just playing the ball along the floor, you do mainly need quick players going forward. But if you have to play long balls, which Manchester City's pressing does like to force you to do, you need Giroud to hold the ball up, wait for Willian and Hazard to catch up, lay the ball off to them, and let them run at the defence. Also, Giroud will fight. No matter if he gets kicked in the head, like he did against Hull I think it was, or treated like a princess. He will fight. But like I said, I think Conte will go with Pedro, Willian and Hazard as the false 9, as the whole front 3. So to run you quickly through it, I would play Willy Caballero in goal, back 3 of Azpilicueta, Christensen and Antonio Rudiger, 2 wing-backs of Moses and Alonso, central midfielders of Kante and Cesc Fabregas, and a front 3 of Hazard, Willian and Giroud. While I think Antonio Conte will stick with Thibaut Courtois in goal, probably go with the same back 3 I said, Christensen, Azpilicueta and Rudiger, probably the same wing-backs as well, Victor Moses and Marcos Alonso. Midfield, I'm not so sure. Definitely Kante, maybe Drinkwater, I hope it will be Fabregas. And like I said, I think he will go with the false 9 in the front 3 of Pedro, Willian and Hazard. Aside from that, I would play quite similarly to how we faced Barcelona. Hopefully with the exception of making that one crucial mistake, of course. Because I don't think we can play the way Liverpool managed to beat Manchester City. I don't think we're really capable of that. So I think the way we played Barcelona, because the style is quite similar. Just on the front foot, they do press, they do both pass it out from the back, and also sometimes go long. They play very similar. Just like I said, Manchester City play a little bit wider with their wingers of Sterling if he's fit, Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané, those kind of players. But generally, it's not that different, I think, anyway. So I think, I would go with a similar tactic, but, whether that will work, we'll have to wait and see if we do so. Now, when we last faced Manchester City back in September and we lost 1-0, Morata had to come off injured after 30 minutes or so. Up until then, I thought we were well and truly in that game and arguably looked the more dangerous side. And I don't think we would have lost had Morata been able to carry on and not picked up that injury. But since then, things have changed. We've arguably and probably gotten worse, and worryingly, Manchester City have arguably gotten better. Now, do I think we will win? No. Do I think we can win? Yes. But it might need somewhat of a miracle, if I'm going to be honest. Do I think we will get a draw? To be honest, I don't think so either. Seeing how they murdered Arsenal last night, by what looked like giving only 70% of what they actually can do, was scary. And Arsenal, that might not be very good and have lost 7 games in all competitions already just in the year of 2018. But an Arsenal that we couldn't beat in 3 attempts in January itself. So they've lost 7 games in 2018 already, but faced us 3 times and did lose once. But at the same time though, that game against Arsenal last night is almost our biggest hope to win or get a result on Sunday. We had the week off and they played basically the best team in London in the freezing cold on Thursday. But like I said, after being 3-0 up within half an hour or so, they looked like they just conserved some energy as well. So, they're that good. They can just smack 3 goals past us in half an hour and then conserve some energy because we're playing the champions on the weekend. But with the situation for top 4 right now, if we don't win, probably being 5 points off 4th, this is a must-win game. This is basically the toughest must-win game you can ever face. But I think this is going to be the first game this season that I'm going to predict a defeat for. And if we lose, don't lose like Arsenal. Don't get embarrassed. Swear we better not lose by more than 2. I can't handle that. I can't handle it. Some people say, what's your ambition? You just want to not lose by more than 2. No, I do want to win. I do want to get a result, even if it's just a draw. But I don't want to get embarrassed. And Manchester City have embarrassed a lot of teams so far this season. So, I don't want that to happen to us because the confidence already isn't great. And out of Barcelona, we really can't do with that. So, if we do lose, I'm not saying, I hope we do. Of course not. But if we do, don't lose by more than 2. Please just don't. But my prediction, and I had to say it, is a 2-1 defeat. But there is a chance that we can win. And a slightly bigger chance that we'll get a draw. But boys, if you do get that win on Sunday, you'll make me a very, very happy and proud man. But that's really it for me. I'm sorry that was such a depressing video, but it's honestly what I feel like at the moment. fear of not making the Champions League spots, facing one of the best teams this country has arguably ever seen, problems inside the dressing room with a certain goalkeeper saying certain things to the media, a divide within the fans with people wanting Conte to stay, other people wanting Conte to leave. And my mood would switch completely were we to win on Sunday. But at the moment, it is what it is. But like I said, that's it from me. Leave me your thoughts on the game down in the comment section below. What would be your predicted lineup? What would you start? Leave it down in the comment section below. Do you think we can beat Man City? What do you think the final score will be? Leave me your score predictions down below as well. Leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Don't forget to check out my social media with Slouse1507 on both Instagram and Twitter. As you can see over here, I'd massively appreciate it if you could follow me over there. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you haven't already. We would massively appreciate that. And yeah, while I'm not confident that we will get a result, you can never lose hope. And you can never give up, especially before even playing the game. So lads, give it your all, give it everything, up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.